Anne Tolley.
Mr. Speaker.
I've called the Honourable Anne Tolley.
My apologies, sir, I didn't hear. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to stand and take a call here as this 50th Parliament comes to its end. And before I go any further, can I acknowledge here in the House a great achievement today by our New Zealand athletes at the Commonwealth Games, and our world champion, dear to the hearts of all New Zealanders, Valerie Adams, gained a gold medal, which then achieved for New Zealand our 600th medal in the Commonwealth Games. Mr. Speaker, can I start by paying tribute to all the valedictorians in the House who are leaving us and going on to lives outside Parliament. It has been amazing to sit and listen to the valedictory speeches from all round the House, and I want to acknowledge all the work that MPs do. In particular, Mr. Speaker, I want to pay tribute to the Speaker's team and thank them for their guidance and their assistance. And can I pay tribute to the retiring members, the Deputy Speaker Roy and Assistant Speaker Robertson, and thank them for their help over the years. I do want to acknowledge my colleague Tony Ryle, who was the previous Member of Parliament for parts of my electorate at various times. It has changed. I think when he was first elected into Parliament, Tapuia Springs formed part of his electorate. He has been a great mentor, a great colleague, and he has been a great Minister of Health for this country, and he will be sadly missed. I also want to acknowledge my two Millennium class colleagues who are leaving, Dr Hutchison and Phil Heatley. We're now down to 2 out of 8. Mr. Speaker, you and I are left. Yeah. I have to say the whisky will last a bit longer. But I wish my colleagues all the best. Can I thank the staff here at Parliament, from the messengers to the cleaners to the security people, the people who look after our officers. We have a great staff here at Parliament who make this place work. And also can I thank Ministerial Services. I particularly want to thank the people who work in my office, both here in Parliament, who do a great job. It's a thankless job at times, but they do a fantastic job. And also in my two offices there in Gisborne and in Whakatane. Where would we be without our office staff who maintain our presence in our electorates when we have to spend so much time here in Wellington? I also want to pay tribute to the Leader of the House, the Honourable Jerry Brownlee. He has done a fantastic job of guiding this House through the legislative program over the last 3 years. And he has an amazing way of combining humour with absolute efficiency, and I think we would all agree that he has done an outstanding job, and we thank you, Jerry Brownlee, for that. Mr. Speaker, this term has been a term of considerable contrast. If you look at I just want to touch on a couple of issues, but if we look first at the leadership here on this side of the House from John Key is strong, it's consistent, it's transparent, it's open, and any of us who have been with him as he's travelled around the country know that he is genuinely interested in people. That's right. And it shows, and people respond to that, and they want to be with him, they want to have their photos taken with him, they want to talk to him, and they respond to him because, as the Deputy Prime Minister said earlier, actually he believes in them. He believes that they can do whatever it is that they want to do, and he genuinely wants to help them do that, and it shows. So on this side we have that sort of leadership, and you compare it with what we see around the House, and actually it's shambolic is the word that I would use to describe it. It is shambolic. We've seen a number of leaders. We've seen some shifty behaviour. We've seen tricky, yes, you have to read the bottom lines, you have to read the small print, and we have seen no clear leadership from the opposition, no clear leadership to match anything that John Key has produced. So I think that's a sharp contrast for New Zealanders. When they think about who it is that they would like to lead this country, then without a doubt, it has to be John Key from the National Party. The second issue that I think is a clear contrast is that this side of the House has a very clear direction. We know exactly where this country is going, and we are helping it get there. We have 4 priorities. First of all, getting the finances back into some sort of shape, and getting back into surplus has been incredibly difficult. As we know, there were a whole string of surpluses from the other side of the House, from the Labor government, and they spent like drunken sailors. And the very best of times they were, the very best of times. And what did this country have to show for it? Not a lot. Not a lot. Yes, we did have no debt, and that was one thing they did really well. But they left a whole lot of unfunded promises to people. Anyone who asked for it, they sprayed money around. And this government, in the height of a recession, had to come in and clean up that mess. We've also had to grow the economy because we knew this country was going backwards. We were spending more than we were earning. So we've had to reshape the economy, and New Zealanders have risen to the challenge. And again, we've heard in this House today how New Zealanders have turned our economy around. We've focused on better public services because the taxpayers have a right to expect that their public service performs for them, and we are achieving that with our better public service targets show that clearly, and we're very focused on that. And finally, we have been focused on rebuilding our second largest city that was so dramatically demolished by those tragic earthquakes, and we have seen enormous progress made, and this government has been determined to be alongside Canterburyans as they rebuild their large city. What have we seen from the opposition? Well, actually, they've been all over the place. Again, you would describe it as pretty shambolic. They've manufactured a whole series of crises, all of which have turned out to be false. In fact, on this side, we're actually asking for another crisis so that we can get another boost in the economy. They have consistently put down the enormous work that's been done in a couple of particular areas I want to mention. First of all, I think the outstanding increase in educational achievement that we have seen under this government. And all that we've heard from the Labor opposition, who sat back for 9 years and watched as kids' achievement levels dropped, and they did nothing because they were too scared of the unions. Under this government, we have got good achievement data, and we've seen an enormous change in what's happening in our schools. And all they can do is say, we've lowered the standards. So all they want to do is undermine the hard work that thousands of teachers around the country have done. And then we come to the reduction in crime. Now, we have backed the police. They have turned themselves inside out. They are one of the most modern, effective police services in the world. And we have seen crime reduce to a 29-year low. And what do the opposition do? They undermine all that good work that the police have done by focusing on 5 staff members who miscoded 697 recorded crimes out of 1.25 million recorded crimes in a year. So all they have done is used less than the margin of error to try and undermine our hard-working police force who are out there every day protecting our citizens. That is the difference. That is the stark difference that is presented to the country this year. A government that knows that New Zealanders can achieve, and we just need to get in behind them and clear the way for them against an opposition that nitpick, that fight among themselves, that have shown no strong leadership. Mr. Speaker, there is a very, very clear choice for people as we go into this election in September. They can choose a government that knows where this country's going, that is united, that like one another, that have fun together, that are refreshing, are able to bring in new members and salute those that leave us, And I just turned and seen my colleague Chris Tremaine. As an old Napier girl, I think Napier is going to be the poorer for not having you as their local MP. I know you've got a great candidate there who's going to fight and win a magnificent battle there in Napier, but I want to pay tribute to Chris Tremaine because he has done a great job for that city of Napier. Mr. Speaker, we know that the opposition are focused on inputs. They always have been. It is time, Mr. Speaker, for another national government.
I call Sue Moroney.
Mr. Speaker.